So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's broadcast on Hinduism. My name is Nishit Kotak. I'm here with Jay Lakhani. Jay, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, sir.
So, we are officially now out of the EU as a nation. Yesterday was the day we left the EU formally, so Brexit is now in a formal process of going on. Now, whilst there was lots of celebrations and things happening yesterday, what is the reason you're wearing a red tie today?
Nothing with Brexit. In fact, the boys at Eton asked me, Mr. Lakhani, what is your opinion about Brexit? I said, we are inclusivist people. It's better to work together with a greater community than isolate ourselves. So that is my personal opinion. I'm not a politician, so I will not go any further into that topic. Okay, but the real reason,
Yes.
the thing that we put across on the WhatsApp clip, I think you got the idea what we are
Yes.
focusing on.
Okay, fine. So, we have got very many different religions around the world, but we're talking about the mainstream ones at the moment. Each one of these mainstream religions have a different approach. They have different prophets. They say their teachings are set in a real sort of experience, and that it comes through the word of what they call God, right? Now, how is it possible that they talk the talk, they all have different approaches, but some of them are very peaceful and some not so peaceful? How can there be so many different approaches to the same ultimate reality? What's your take on this, Jaybai?
It's a very important issue to tackle. First of all, I've been warned by my chairman, slow down, so I'm going to slow down. I may sound like a demented person, but so be it. You see, when you look at all the various prophets, various religions, their prescription of how to lead a religious life, etc., we see such vast variation. And we may say, how do you reconcile this? How can you have such a vast variation, even though you say all of them have got underpinning, all of them are really true, because that's what we Hinduism asserts. How can you possibly reconcile? How can they be same, or the ultimate is same, even though they are talking in such different languages, different prescriptions? How do you explain this? It is very important to explore this, because if you understand this issue correctly, this can resolve a very serious problem of fighting in the name of religion permanently. It can resolve it forever. Now, I'll give you some idea why what's happening. Now, you see, we have always subscribed to the idea that the heart of every tradition, religious tradition or mystical tradition, is always experiential. It is never intellectual. People don't sit down and do equations and sort it out. They actually have a deep glimpse into the nature of reality. This is a very kind of broad term I'm using. They seem to get a deeper glimpse of what this is all about. And that charges an individual up. And this is, if you like, the fountainhead of every world religion, as well as every mystical tradition throughout the world, throughout the ages, with some red Indians or the people in the Mayan civilization or whatever. So it is the foundation of every mystical tradition, some glimpse into deeper reality. Now we say, this is okay, Mr. Lakhani, you heard about the word experiential religion and the role of experience as the fountainhead of all world traditions. Fair enough. But then why such variation? If they had the same belief, why they don't have the same message? Why such vast variation which are almost contradictory? For example, some tradition like the Dharmic tradition will talk about reincarnation. We come again and again until we sort ourselves out. So while the Abrahamic tradition will say, no, two life scenario, this one and the next everlasting one. How can you say they are equally good? Or they are talking the same thing? So it's a very important issue to explore, and that's what I'm planning to do today. This is the main topic today.
Mm-hmm.
Now the answer is this. It is one thing to say experiential, but when you want to give expression or even try and interpret your own experience of spirituality, do you know what happens like magic?
What happens?
Your mind steps in. Your mind won't allow you to, in a way, articulate the spiritual experience without actually stepping in and coloring your experience. This is interesting, isn't it? Because the thing is, the mind is an important instrument we have to make sense of everything in the universe, including religious idea or spiritual ideas. So the mind steps in, like it or not. Without the mind stepping in, you can't even relate to it, you can't articulate, you can't even talk about it, think about it. Can you at all talk about any subject without your mind's contribution on that particular topic? Not possible.
No.
Suppose you didn't have any words and try and express something. No. So you require your linguistic flow, which comes with your mind, regarding how you, in a way, interpret your own experience. This is the heart of the thing. So when a prophet or a sage or a saint in any part of the world has a spiritual experience, even though the experience is very dynamic, they struggle to find words for it. When they try and interpret their own spiritual experience for themselves, not for us, for themselves. What did I encounter? What was it? What was it? The mind said, I'll tell you what it was. So depending on the mindset that an individual possesses, their experience will be colored in that particular format. I'll give you an example. I'm trying to vilify any religion or undermine any religion, but let me just give an example. Suppose in the time of Christ, it was a patriarchal society, father figure, everything was controlled by the father, patriarchal society. So when Christ has a spiritual experience, he tries to give he tries to articulate or put words to the experience he had. How can he do it? Father in heaven. See, a patriarchal aspect immediately becomes visible when he tries to interpret his own experience. Forget about telling it to us, to himself. So what did I experience? Oh, a great fatherly figure. So the experience is already in a way colored and expressed using his own mindset that he possesses. Now, there's another aspect to it. It's not only the experience, this mindset is going to dictate the way he explains the experience. When he tries to, in a way, try and give greater detail regarding how society should behave, how society should, kind of focus on the kind of rules for society, or the codes of conduct for society, again, another issue arises. Depending on the society and the culture he lives in, you see, we all kind of, whether we like it or not, we inherit a culture and a social dimension to our being. Depending on where you are born, which society you belong to, which historic period you belong to, that particular aspect will immediately now kick in. So when they try and give a prescription of how to be religious, the minds that they possess are going to say, no, we'll tell you. Depending on the needs of the society, the context in which that particular society exists, the historic period in which that society exists, the codes of conduct will be dictated by that. I'll give you some very rough examples. Suppose you live in a peaceful country, your mindset is automatically drawn to peaceful ideas. Then when you try and interpret or try and give expression to your religious experience, forget about the concept of God, etc., or spirit that you discovered. When you try and say, now how does society live? What are the codes of conduct for society? The mindset you have has already got a cultural element, a social element. So they will immediately start showing up. I'll give you an example. Suppose you live in a very cancerous society. People are ready to kill or be killed. Then you see the prescription you will offer will be almost violent. In a way, to control this violent world that you live in, your prescription of how you lead a religious life will also reflect violence in a way you say, what are the codes of conduct for my society, my religious community? The mindset will kick in and say, no, it should be like this. So the prescription they offer, or the codes of conduct they offer, will reflect the culture, the society they exist in. They cannot be in vacuum. So for example, if you live in a very peaceful country, the codes of conduct you will offer will say, oh, peace and that kind of thing. But suppose you live in a very cancerous situation, not that it's your fault, but the Prophet is in a very cancerous situation, then the prescription you will offer will automatically be almost a violent prescription. So this is how you see a variation in tradition. So again, you see, these ideas are important because, as I said, it's not just experiential dimension of religion, but we also have to take into account the mindset of the person who's had the spiritual experience, the society and the culture in which that particular person exists, and that in a way dictate even the prescriptions or the codes of conduct that particular society will impose on, if you like, on religious community. There's a variation.
Yes.
And the variation happens, if you look at it, the context has changed. That is why the variation appears. I mean, just give you an example. In the Hindu, I'm deliberately talking about Hinduism so that I don't vilify any other religion. That's not my job. So in Hindu tradition, we have the idea of Advait, ultimate reality, and you are same. And the same Hindu religion will say Dvait, ultimate reality, and you are not same. Same contradiction straight away. But when you really see at the depth that they are in a way pointing to the same direction using different starting point of their spiritual journey, and you say, well, see, this is how it is. You require a kind of anchor, a great super personality to hang on to, and then progress spiritually until you find that you and this great personality are not different. See? But provided you see the context in which it is presented, because it suits that particular mindset. Suppose a person, no, I can't think I'm something special. I have to think, oh, God, ultimate reality is Shiva, I love you. So if that is the way you can relate to spirituality, that shows the contextual limitation you have regarding how you want to make spiritual progress. And it is not in contradiction to the deeper idea that you and the ultimate reality are the same. See, this important idea of to move from a very stodgy, very set, prescriptive way of looking at your own religion. Because when you have that, it becomes exclusivist and becomes highly damaging for the rest of the world. So this is, if you like, a very important aspect. I hope this particular clip goes viral, because this can solve the problem. Because people say, Mr. Lakhani, these people are talking about two life scenarios, you're talking about, reincarnation. How can they both be right? This idea is this. They were trying to project this idea of a two life scenario to make you progress spiritually faster. That's the only reason. That's all. That's only you got one chance, go for it. So it was just a ploy, if you like, or a method or tool used to, in a way, jettison people to make faster spiritual progress. But in reality, reincarnation is saying, no, it takes time, many lifetimes. So in a way, this ability to evolve, to recognize the limitation of every, including Hinduism, every tradition, allows us to evolve and engage with the world that we live in today rather than the world that we lived in thousands of years ago. Please, my friends, take this message, absorb it, then you see, oh, I can see why this particular religion appears so cantankerous. Oh, why this religion appears so pacifist. This will give you the idea of why there is this variation, and still see underpinning all of them, same ultimate reality, same grand spiritual experience in a way starts off this religious journey.
So it's like different rivers that ultimately end up in the sea.
Absolutely.
So they will all have different routes. Brilliant. What a nice topic to explore today, and it's nice to see this different way of thinking around how different religions are approaching this path to ultimate reality, as it were be. So just a quick moment to say hello to a few of our viewers. So viewers, if you're watching us, this is a broadcast we do every Saturday. We start at 2 o'clock. We run for about 45 minutes. If you're new to this broadcast, please consider checking out our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Hindu Academy. Or you can also check us out on Facebook. We are on facebook.com/Hindu Academy. You can also post your questions on the comments area. I will be monitoring them. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at this gadget.
He's ignoring me, that's why.
to see your questions so that I can start asking a few of them live on air. So we've got Chandranshu Tripathi, we've got Rajiv Bhagat, we've got Darshan Gili Barsani and Pritam Singh Rawat, we've got Supriya Krishnamurthy and many others watching us live on air at the moment. So do remember to tell us where you're watching the broadcast from, because it does help us to tailor the content for you, and it tells us where our messages are able to be reached to. So the next question is from Paul Elliott, and his question is very interesting, coming off the topic we just did. He's saying that he's seeing a big problem with Christianity. People are no longer willing to believe in the doctrine of, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. Or if you don't believe in God, you're going to hell. That concept seems to be not palatable to everybody now, and he sees that as the end of Christianity coming up. But then it is also giving rise to a bunch of people who say, I'd rather believe in nothing. No religion, no concept like God at all. So do we have a solution in Hinduism for this problem? Because it's not only Christianity, I see it across the board with most major religions.
In fact, all the thinking youngsters from majority of religions in the world today are moving away from religions for the simple reason they are not able to see religions in its full depth, in its full comprehensive nature. For example, I just gave an example of how the religions are colored by the society, by the culture that you belong to, as well as your own mindset to interpret your own religious experience. They are limited. And that limitation is in a way pushing, driving youth, thinking youngsters from all religions to move away and take on, if you like, a more science-oriented, rational worldview. Do I blame them? No. They're sure they're alive, they're thinking for themselves, and they are not prepared to go along the line of their predecessors, their previous generations. This is happening big time. You see, in one or two religions, there is a tremendous steadfastness of being very prescriptive and kind of very imposing. And those youngsters cannot easily get out because they have been told if you get out, you are in real trouble. So they are kind of stuck. But that is, if you like, their own issue. Now with Christianity, this is visible for me because I go to so many English schools and give talks to so many different people. I notice the same issue. Many schools, 90% of thinking youngsters who are sitting and asking me questions say very bluntly, we are atheists, we don't believe in a God. It comes with a lot of baggage, a lot of unanswered questions. Why should we subscribe to it? Maybe our previous generation were happy, but now we are not going to play war with it. So the reconciliation has to come with a modern vision which is science-oriented and rational worldview. Otherwise, religions have to be pushed aside. I agree with that. Push them aside. I'm like that. So, religion, science and rationality are going to, in a way, dictate the way youngsters relate to the idea of ultimate reality or what is the nature of reality. Okay, now let me touch on Paul's issues. You see, Christianity is in a way prepared to evolve, in the sense that it's saying, okay, move away from this kind of religious worldview to a science-oriented rational worldview. Christianity is prepared to do that. But there are some other traditions who are not prepared to do that at all. So they are going to be at loggerheads with rationality and the science world that they encounter. But so be it, I can't help it. That it's necessary for societies and religious communities to evolve. One thing I can say is this. Wonderful thing that is again at the heart of our tradition, not trying to promote or score points, is as follows. You see, if we look at the ideas that are at the deeper end of Hinduism, not this kind of colorful gods and goddesses and Puranis, but the deeper end of Hinduism, they don't only resonate with the findings of modern science, they've got the power to take modern science forward. They've got that power. We know that. That is why this science-oriented rational worldview that the Christians, youngsters are now adopting is something that all Hindus will adopt as well in days to come. And also at the moment Hindus are purely in a waffle world, they are living in a Bollywood life. So they are not at all linking with religion at all, it's just superficial. So I am saying that in days to come, all youngsters, Hindus as well as non-Hindus, as well as people of other Abrahamic tradition, will slowly move towards this science-oriented worldview because that really catches their attention. It is so well joined up. You've got so much integrity. So it is going to be a natural, if you like, the future of all world religions, including Hinduism. So be it. Why should we be frightened? We are trying to make sense of the world that we live in, using our common sense, using all these practical approaches we have of scientific discoveries and so on. And there is tremendous integrity in that. And it is going almost very close to the depth of what is the nature of reality. It is really, in a way, hitting the jackpot in a very natural manner, in a very organic manner. So I am saying, Paul, if people want to believe in nihilism means I believe in nothing. That means they don't want to believe in God, but they want to believe in science and rationality. So that is the thing that's going to hold their hand. And that is what we are focusing on. And that is how it is going to happen for sure in days to come.
Brilliant. So just a quick welcome to Sam De Silva, Sergeant Warrior, Ramachandra Dhar. We've got Priya Ranjan, Love Vivacity, Paula K, our regular viewer, Vishnu Mahajan, Adarsh Pandey, Brian Summers, Arvind Benaka, and many, many more watching us on YouTube. So the next question was that one of the viewers is saying that his cousin is daily doing a jap of a mantra. This is a Sudarshan Chakra mantra in Sanskrit, because he was told by a Pandit that chanting this mantra will save you from your enemy and give you invincible powers and many other claims. But the question is this true? Because we have previously discussed this. We've said that where you see mention of divine weapons, they are not literally true. They are exaggerations or there to prove a point. What's your take on this?
Yes, we have touched on this issue from a different direction. We're talking about all the divine weapons and all these wonderful superpowers and so on. Look, as I said, always Hinduism allows you to think rationally. Other religions won't. This is all written up. Don't argue, don't debate, don't interpret. Hinduism says, no, my friend, interpret everything. If it doesn't agree with your common sense, spit it out. I will give you my take on this idea of mantras, etc. Now I'm saying that if, for example, your mindset is so well focused that the mantra, that means a particular kind of repetition of a particular chant with certain vibration, are going to affect you personally and give you a better handle on reality, then those mantras are fine. How can that happen? You see, unless that mantra is passed on to you by a person who is already enlightened, it doesn't have the potency. I mean, you heard the Gayatri mantra being recited by so many people with all these colorful musical instruments, but the potency is missing because it is not given or presented by somebody who is already enlightened. If someone is enlightened, he whispers that mantra in you, you are caught. That mantra will stay with you, vibrate in you forever. So whether it's Sudarshan Chakra mantra, etc., there are so many. And I'm very worried about a lot of these Indian sadhus and gurus and babas at the moment who are really taking this idea to extreme They say if you do this, it is like doing 1,000, kind of pilgrimages. If you repeat this mantra only, they'll give you the benefit of 1,000 this. Look, my friend, how can this? It's irrational. And this, they're just trying to promote their own mantra, their own variation of their own version of what they think about religion, and in the way kind of taking the gullible public for a ride. I'm bluntly telling you, just ask yourself, is it possible? Oh, if I do this mantra at this time in the morning when this particular tithi is there, then I got the benefit of 100 pilgrimages or, going to heaven for sure. Come on, why? Why should it be? At the same time, I know the mantras presented by a spiritually enlightened person will definitely affect you. But something else that you kind of are dished out by all these babas and these gurus and sadhus, they're just selling themselves. They're kind of taking the mickey out of you. Don't listen to them. Grow out. I'm saying don't get caught up unless you actually believe, rationally think about it. Will it really make the difference? Suppose you've been chanting it. Has it made any difference? Ask yourself. If it has made a difference, good for you. That means you got the right stuff. According to me, no. Unless it comes from a charged person, those mantras have very limited validity or limited influence on you.
So thank you folks so much for joining us on the broadcast today. If you're enjoying the conversation, remember to share, like, leave us a comment, let us know your thoughts on it. I'm now going to switch the usual broadcast. I'm going to give Jbai a series of rapid fire questions. So as you can tell, we are very well rehearsed. We don't do this in advance. He doesn't even know what questions I'm going to ask him.
No clue.
But the rapid fire questions, Jbai, I want the answers under a minute.
30 seconds.
Yep, so I can then ask you a series of them. So number one, what is the meaning of the swastika?
Okay, means bring auspiciousness, good luck from all the four corners of the world. Bring goodness, auspiciousness from every corner of the world. That's why you put these 4 arms.
Brilliant. I've heard some Hindus use the term Sanatan Dharma. What is that?
Okay, the word dharma has got different, if you like, can interpret it in different ways depending on your own level of growth. Suppose you are just a basic Hindu, dharma means lead a very, if you like, a righteous life, really a very moral life, an ethical life. That's a very simplistic vision of dharma. The deeper vision of dharma says we want to understand the nature of reality. Who the heck am I? What am I doing here? What is my link with the rest of the creation? So that is the deeper vision of what dharma, understanding the reality that the laws that dictate the world that I live in and harness them for my betterment. That's the deeper vision of the word, same word, dharma.
Do Hindus have commandments?
Yes, surprisingly we have. People don't realize this. And this comes in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the first 2 requirements, the first 2 anga, if you like, the limbs of Patanjali Yoga Sutra are called yama and niyama. And the 5 disciplines and the 5 observances used by Patanjali are the 10 laws of Hinduism. What are they? Yama says satya, be truthful. Ahimsa, don't kill needlessly. Asteya, don't steal, simple. Asteya, aparigraha, don't take even things, gift from others because you are under their control. And brahmacharya, woohoo, tricky stuff. No celibacy, no lovey-dovey. That's the yama. See, you see straight away most Hindus say, oh no, not for me. The second 5, if you like, the observances are called niyama. Sauch, cleanliness. Santosh, develop a spirit of, kind of contentment. Sauch, santosh, tapa. Always kind of in a way to kind of makes yourself kind of more disciplined, do some kind of austerities, tapa. Then sauch, santosh, tapa, swadhyay. Always try and understand the deeper vision regarding your religion. And aparigraha. These are the important ideas that kind of are the 10 commandments of the Hindus.
Okay.
I went a little bit over 1 minute.
That's okay. It is said that the goal of every individual is to attain moksha. But what is moksha?
Moksha is simply this delusion we have regarding how we can sort ourselves out. Majority of human beings think that if they can just fulfill desires, chase after desires, sort them out, they're sorted out. And Hinduism says, no, my friend, you'll soon find out. There is no end to desires. They're like a virus that we all have. And when you fulfill one desire, 3 more will arise. This maturity that arises by realizing that you're not able to fulfill all your desires. So there's a delusion. Once you rise above it, that's called moksha. That means you get snuffed out and you die or something. It simply means you rise above this kind of thing that's clinging to you, making you turning into a little slave of the world, turns you into the master of the world. That's what moksha means.
So how often is a Hindu person supposed to pray?
No, see, we are not a prescriptive religion, wonderful thing, but it of course comes with the downside. That means we don't bother with any prayer at all. We don't have a fixed prescription that you must pray so many times a day, etc. We simply say, when your mind is naturally calm, with the middle of the night, whether you've taken a bath or no bath, when the mind becomes very calm and you want to think of higher things, time to pray, time to worship, time to meditate. So this is the openness of system. How many times? It depends on your requirements and your ability, but no fixed prescription.
Do Hindus believe in the concept of heaven and hell?
Temporary heaven and hell, yes. Between lifetimes, we produce a world of our own, a dream world almost, a very kind of, waffly world, where we create a world of our own because our nature in a way kind of will project a world that we live in. We are in it. But depending on your nature, you get either a hellish world or a heavenly world, and it is temporary. It is purely like daydreaming. And then you wake up from that daydream and want to be reincarnated, so continue your spiritual progress.
So do Hindus belong to different denominations, and if so, can they intermarry?
Yes, we have no. You see, the Manusmriti, that is outdated scripture, was very restrictive regarding who you marry, how you, etc. But the modern Hindu thinking, etc., says no, this highly prescriptive method is not right. We allow people to marry within different, we forget about different in the same religion, but even in with people of other religions. The only thing we would say very nicely is this: it's not easy. When you say I want to marry because I'm in love with this girl from South India and I'm Gujarati, Tamil, let's marry, you soon find that marriage is very difficult. So it is better for you to choose a partner who is in a way similar to you in your background, because then you can live more peacefully with each other. So take care. But you can marry across the religious boundaries without any problem in Hinduism. But another caveat: do not ask your partner or allow your partner to dictate to you that they have to change their religion. Don't allow that.
Brilliant. So I've read that yoga can't be claimed by any religion in particular, but isn't yoga a Hindu practice?
Yes, you see the word yoga, and again the practice itself was initiated in India for sure. It's not visible in any other part of the world. Like China, the idea of spirituality was ancestral worship. In other parts of the world, they don't have this idea of thinking there's something divine within yourself. In fact, they say you are sinners. So the idea of looking for divinity within us is very much a Hindu idea. There's no, we are not claiming copyright, but say we are the first people on this earth who discovered the idea of searching within what is our true nature. And that particular process we call yoga. Yoga means joining up with your true nature.
Okay. Is Hinduism compatible with science?
Well, not only compatible, I'm telling you, as a physicist, Hinduism has got the ability, and I hope if I live long enough, I'm going to really whack it in, has got the ability to pull science out of a cul-de-sac it found itself in. Since the 1920s, science, physical science, has gone into a cul-de-sac, means it doesn't know where to turn. It's going into this multi-universe and all this nonsense. It has become diversified with vengeance. So science progresses by convergence. To the contrary, now, since 1920, it's gone into divergence, tremendous divergence, infinite copies of ourselves. So I am saying for science to get out of this cul-de-sac, they have to come to us. We know why, how we can escape this cul-de-sac. For science to progress and take the next major leap, the Hindu ideas will become central.
So in Hinduism, we've often heard of the term, the relationship between guru and shishya. But what is a guru and what is a shishya?
Okay, again, warning note to all the Hindus throughout the world. Please do not be so kind of gullible that any idiot will kind of take you for a ride. And it's easy to source them out. If you find a real guru, just check them out. They will be not looking for any money. They will not be trying to start a sectarian or a cultish movement. They will not be out for organizations. They will not be out for kind of controlling you, wear the all same yellow cloth. When you always say, this kind of congregation with yellow cloth and white cloth, I say, God, cults. So the real guru will not be looking for cults, starting a cult or a sectarian movement or temple bodies, nothing. He will not ask for anything from you. He will not even want your devotion. He don't want you to sit at his feet. That's a sign of a true guru. That's the first rule. They are spiritually enlightened. They are not interested in anything else except passing on this spiritual knowledge to the person who is sincere. So the requirement of this guru is very clear. They must be enlightened, nothing less. Nothing less will do. And check out all the gurus in India today. None of them will pass. I'm telling you bluntly, today, none of them will pass. The second thing is, what kind of shishya or what kind of disciple should there be? A person who is genuine in spiritual experience. Sorry, I'm going fast again. Slow down. I'm slowing down. So a shishya, a disciple, must be equally astute. Just as we are imposing this hard discipline on the guru, you must be enlightened, nothing else will do. In the same way, so the disciple must be of equal stature. Because when the disciple has no further interest except discovering the deeper dimension to reality and the deeper dimension to himself, he will not succeed. And the guru, if he is clever, will not even go near that, or will not allow the Shishya, will not give that kind of discipleship to that person who is not genuinely, sincerely, intensely in love. I give an example. One Shishya went to a Guru and said, I want to learn about deeper idea. What is all this Atman and all that? And the Guru said, okay, let's go to the riverside. You see, it's a very funny example, right? So the Guru took the Shishya to the riverside, said, okay, now let's both go in the water. Then he took the Shishya, the disciple's head, and plunged it into the water and left it there. The disciple was struggling to get off. He won't let him off. Then after some time, real struggle, he let the disciple get up. He said, now, do you see the urgency of trying to breathe? He said, yes. When you have the same urgency to find out what is the nature of reality, you are ready to start your journey. See, that disciple must be that sincere regarding his spiritual journey. Then this particular process of Guru Shishya will continue to exist and produce results.
Well, so why does Hinduism have so many gods?
We discussed it many times. Not so many gods. So many ways to be spiritual, not even religious, spiritual. We allow for it. We are a spiritual democracy. Look, I live in UK. UK is the mother of social democracy. You must give them full marks. Democracy, social democracy means equality and giving human dignity, etc. It's a central feature of this nation. It's called social democracy. No dictatorship, no nonsense. So this is the beauty of this nation. The beauty of our nation is spiritual democracy. We allow many different pathways to explore spirituality. It may be in a personalized manner. Oh, I love Vishnu, I love Shiva, I love Mother God. Fine. It can be even impersonal. So what is my true nature? It's not this human being. That's what's underpinning this, what's bubbling out through these eyes. That is again a way of becoming spiritually enlightened without any personality. All these variations are visible in Hinduism, and the major, if you like, the major cloud we have is saying you can make spiritual progress if you become focused in any field, including science. If you become one-pointed and focused in any field like music or science or art or dance or drama, you're becoming spiritual without reference to the word religion. So be it.
Why are many Hindus vegetarians?
Yes, good to explore this. You see, remember, Hinduism simply made this comment that all life is sacred. We must recognize that every living thing, plants even, are sacred, because the thing that underpinning reality is in a way showing itself in a more kind of transparent manner through those particular forms. Plants, animals, insect, human. Fair enough. Now the unfortunate thing is this. Whole of the living kingdom, almost whole of the living kingdom has a habit of living on other living things, except for plants and trees. And some plants are suspect. but most of them will live, if you like, on other living things. Insects, animals, humans. I say I'm vegetarian, but I'm eating plants all the time. So I'm living on other living things. It is good to recognize that we are in a way cursed to live on other living things. Cursed is the right word. Except the plants and the trees, the rest of us are cursed to live on other living things. Even when we breathe, we kill a lot of bacteria. And of course in China we hope we kill bacteria at the moment. So even the process of breathing, you're taking life. So we are in a way cursed to live off other livings or step on other life form. But the only thing the Hindus say is this, or the Hindus recognize is this: it is better to live on least evolved life forms rather than the most evolved life forms. That's why we say don't eat human beings, they're highly evolved. But if you eat on plants, they're the least evolved life forms, so you can survive on that. If you need to live on other life, live on the least evolved life form rather than the most evolved life form. That is the only caveat we put, but that's all, it's just commonsensical. Okay, now the world now is becoming vegetarian out of it, it's been imposed on the world. People love meat eating, of course, and many Hindus eat meat. But the ecological issues that are now facing, that the world faces with all this, the greenhouse effects and all that, is imposing that meat eating is breeding animals for meat is dangerous for the human beings, because we'll all go underwater in no time. So the ecological issues now are forcing human beings to adopt a vegetarian lifestyle. Isn't it lovely? It's being imposed on us because we won't listen. And the other thing is that I am a bit nervous about is that, you see, actually even drinking milk products is really in a way damaging to the animal kingdom, because the way this milk is extracted is frightening. I didn't realize until recently. In the earlier days, I'm going on because it's important. In the earlier days, for example, you say, oh, but Krishna eats milk and drinks milk and it's makhan and butter and all that. So sure, what's wrong with it? It's so nice. That's how we are brought up. That's how I was brought up. Something nice, milk and yogurt and all that. But you see, in those days, there was a symbiosis between human and animal. Symbiosis means helping each other. The human beings were tending the cows, looking after them, feeding them in the winter, etc. The human beings were doing this for the cattle, the cows, and the cows in return were giving them excess milk. The word is excess milk. The little calves were allowed to drink milk from the mother, but there was a lot of excess milk because these cows are, make more milk. So human beings were living on this extra milk that was available. This is symbiosis, acceptable. But now this is the situation is in modern times, the way this milk is extracted is they will kill the calves that are born and draw the milk out of the mother cow. So that frightens me. I'm not vegan, but it makes me shudder to think how this milk is coming to me. This is the evolved face of Hinduism, the way we look at, the way we treat the animal kingdom.
And the very last question for the rapid fire round is this. What is the status of women in Hinduism, in the practice of Hinduism?
Okay, we have seen evolution. The earliest part of Hinduism, the Vedic period, women were considered to be more important than men. Because these are magical animals, I'm sure human beings. They produce another human being. So the earliest idea of something supernatural in reality was to think of women as God. They give birth to another human being. Come on. The fact that men actually contribute was, by the way, these are the people who are carrying a child in their tummy for 9 months and giving birth to it. That's fantastic. So the earliest idea of ultimate reality was this mother goddess. It's visible in the digs, in the archaeological evidence that we have in India today. So that's visible. So that's one part. But then as you go through different processes, in the early times, women were given equal role in society, equal role. And the wonderful example is, Kaikai, Dasharath's wife, because we say the historic story. Kaikai used to be a fighter. Can you believe, with bows and arrows, going fighting the enemies or firing arrows? A real fighter, a real kind of, a warrior. So you see, women were allowed to take on all the roles in the ancient times of India. But then we have all these ups and downs. Then we went to the Middle Ages where women were pushed aside and became a patriarchal world. Now this patriarchal world is visible throughout the world, not only India. Everywhere you look, it's like the father giving the daughter's hand away in marriage. That means a patriarchal society. Jesus, he said, God is a father and not mother, father in heaven. It's a sign of a patriarchal society. So the Hindus said, we see a lot of things are international. It's not just restricted to India or other countries. So the idea of a patriarchal society was visible throughout the world. Apart from some parts in Africa, somebody will be there, it's a matriarchal society. The husband just sit around and smoke, and the wives are doing all the work and controlling the society. But mostly it was patriarchal society. So because it's patriarchal, women were put in the, if you like, on the back side, saying, okay, your job is just cook and clean and produce children for us. So we went through that phase as well, a patriarchal stage. But again, the last few hundred years, the whole world, including Britain and this suffragette movement, giving equal right to women to vote. They are not animals, they are human. Let them vote as well. Seen only 100 years back in UK. In the same way, in the Indian subcontinent, we also recognize the role of women, giving them equal dignity. So this is happening naturally and organically. It's not religious injunction. It's just happening. It's, I feel like, a social transition, a variation in society.
Brilliant. So that was a really interesting rapid fire round. Now we move on to the normal questions. I've got a few questions here from our viewers. One is from Deb Jyoti Bose, and the question is something to do with the concept of Zen or minimalism. And he's saying, having things as a minimalist surroundings around you, does that help you in your journey to spirituality, or having clutter around you?
Look, in fact, you already answered your question. You see, this is what we are saying. The idea of moksha is this. You realize that this chasing after desires means creating more and more clutter, leading a more and more frenzied life doesn't seem to sort us out. And unfortunately, majority of human beings get caught up by that. I don't blame them. This is how they see everybody else doing, they must do it. You must go on so many holidays, you must have this big house and this and this. So ordinary human beings get caught up with this kind of very cluttered lifestyle. And what this particular philosophy is suggesting, if you like, a simple thinking, simple living, high thinking. This is a beautiful idea. So it removes clutter, and we see this in many movements, in many groups that I come across who are focused on the same idea. Live in a most minimalistic style. That means your needs, your desires are kept under check. And that is it's possible to live life because suddenly you find that by living this kind of minimalistic life, you are much more calmer, happier, and more peaceful within yourself. So you don't have a real frenzy within yourself. So in a way you get a better style, better quality of life. So in that way it is absolutely correct. It will lead you to spirit. That is why people who live very simple life without any external razzmatazz are in a way moving spiritually faster than those people who are caught up with kind of very frenzied, fanatic world's lifestyle is being promoted in the media. Initially, I tell you why. Now you see, the society that we live in is this idea that for economic growth to take place, sorry I'm slowing down again, the economic growth that you want can only happen if we can push in this idea that what you have now is not good enough, you need to have something better. And in order to do that, you need to push this idea across through the media, through advertisement, until everybody swallows it. So even if you do YouTube, the AdWords will pop in everywhere, because this is the way they continue to promote themselves and get the money for them to continue to do research. So the price for having research that we are very keen on and getting better and better gizmos basically comes with this particular text, that you have to now lead a frenzied lifestyle. You can't be allowed to sit happily. The aim of advertisement is very simple, to make you feel dissatisfied with what you already have. And that means you are going to be always on the burning away, saying, this is not desire, I need to have this bigger car. So this keeps you in a very frenzied manner. It can kind of, stokes up the flames of desire in every individual. So this is the price we pay for economic development, economic progress. So it's a price we are paying. Once you recognize it, then perhaps you can move and say, I'm not going to participate. So that's how we should be.
So Jeba, you always say that we should use our rational faculties whenever we are following somebody's advice or teachings. So we have a viewer, his name is Vishal Shah, and he's got some observation. He's saying a lot of youngsters today are taking Diksha in Jainism, and they're made to believe that there is nothing of value in this world, and actually he sees themselves as being programmed as accountants of sinning. So he says, for example, some gurus in Jainism are promoting extreme forms of asceticism. I don't know if I pronounced that correct.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So discouraging the use of electricity and other, I would say, modern comforts.
Yes.
And seeing anybody who does use these kind of modern comforts as a sinner. What is your perspective on this way of way of thinking?
Okay. First thing, you see, I have to be very careful. I'm not here to in any way denigrate any particular tradition. They may have certain values. Every tradition will have certain values. I'm not here to denigrate Jainism or this particular kind of severe practices they are enforcing on their followers. I'm not here to do that. I'm simply saying this. Something that I learned from Buddhism, which of course, we must learn from each other's religion. Buddhism says something very nice. You see, this progress of Buddha was very interesting. When he said, let me sort myself out, what the heck is this nature all about? Why is there suffering? That is the whole thing that drove him. And not to sort out his own suffering, he had no suffering. He was living like a prince. He was a prince. But the suffering of greater humanity, that touched him. That's why Buddha's heart is the biggest heart the world has ever seen. Huge, compassionate person. So to sort out the issue of suffering for the rest of humanity, Buddha said, I'm going to walk out of my kingdom and resolve this issue. And how did he start? Severe austerities. He would not eat or drink. He said, I must get to the bottom of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is my true nature? Because he sees a monk sitting in deep meditation. This seems to be the solution. So let me try that out. But he tried it out to the extreme. Or very ascetic, very severe practice on himself. No food, drink. Can you imagine? So he's become like a skeleton. He was about to die. He was about to, So this is the idea of not being too ascetic. And he was about to die. And there's some young girl turned up with a glass of milk and revived Buddha. And that's why Buddha can never forget that girl. She gave life to Buddha. And then Buddha discovered, and it's a beautiful thing he said, always adopt the middle path. It's not that you become severely austere or severely exaggerate the way you lead your life, very kind of over the top kind of lifestyle. Try and follow the middle path. Then you discover a resolution to a human condition. So everything in moderation is the wonderful thing that came out of Buddhism. Now I cannot impose it on the great Jain traditions and you must become Buddhist. Jain tradition has got its own kind of background, its own particular method. So I'm saying fair enough, but the lovely thing that I will study from Buddhism is a middle path. Follow the middle path. Don't be too austere. Don't kill yourself in the process. And in fact, my mentor Swami Vivekananda said, he said, when I see some sadhus in India in his time, who have said, okay, we are not going to take a bath, and they'll have, maggots on the head. And they'll be falling off and say, ha ha ha, it's not, what is it? They're idiots. What are they doing? They're not supposed to, in a way, kind of abandon the idea of just leading a moderate life. They're kind of going to the extreme. It doesn't give them any spiritual experience. So that is my comment on this.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. We have the next question from Rajiv Bhagat, and this is something we've touched on a few times. I think it's interesting to touch on it again. What is the significance of astrology in Vedanta?
Okay, let me tell you. You see, astrology was, first of all, let me first talk about astronomy. Astronomy is looking at the planets, the movement of the planets over in the horizon. Hindus have been studying them for thousands of years, far earlier than the Greeks, etc. We have been masters at that. So we have been studying the astronomy, means movement of the planets, etc. in the galaxies over hundreds of years, and recording it, that this is the movement of this planet. So we've been doing it for hundreds of years, perhaps a few thousand years before the Greeks started doing it. So we are very good astronomers. That's the first word. Now, during this process, one thing that happened is this, that we somehow felt that maybe the position of planets when a person is born perhaps may dictate the way his life is kind of unfolds. So this was just an idea, a hypothesis, that maybe the position of different planets will in a way dictate how the individual's life unfolds. And this becomes astrology, not astronomy, astrology, trying to link up the position of planets at the time of birth with the way that individual will lead his life. Sounds so nice and clever. It's a very clever hypothesis. That's what it's a hypothesis. It's not an exact science. But this is the hypothesis we adopted. And this became astrology. It became part of the Vedic tradition, by the way. It's not a central part of Vedas, but one of the, if you like, external aspects of Veda, Jyotish Shastra. Fair enough. Now, so I'm told, I'm heard that maybe for over a period of 500 years, very methodical, meticulous study was made about different individuals and how they led their lives and how they linked up with the position of planets on the horizon when they were born. So they did this kind of very nice kind of codification to see if there is a direct link, position of planets and how that individual unfolds in his own life. Sounds a very clever idea. This experiment was done over perhaps 500 years. This produced this thing called astrology. Means astrology will say, depending on your position of all the planets when you're born, we can tell you how your life will be unfolding. And this becomes an important thing. This is not an exact science. Exact science will say, why should Jupiter in this position will make me kind of get married at this age? Why? So there's no direct link. There's no causal link. But there is, if you like this kind of secondary link, that there is some kind of correlation about the position of planets and how this individual's life is led or unfolds. A correlation, purely just say there seems to be some kind of linkages. And this became an astrological issue. Now, what is my personal take? A lot of astrologers really hate me for saying this. I say, my friend, this is not an exact science. In fact, some of the founders of astrology, when they were trying to use astrology for their own family, discovered it didn't work. So they abandoned it. This is true, check it out. So astrology was an interesting hypothesis that we adopted. It seemed to have a little bit of a linkage between how things work out and the position of planets, but don't go over the top and say this is written up in the planets, because this destroys your dignity as a human being. If you think some rocks floating in the sky are going to dictate to you how you lead your life or what will happen to you in the future, then you might as well not live. You are just a piece of rock as well. So my take is always assert your own dignity, saying that I will dictate how my life unfolds, not some planets floating in the sky when I was born. And this is, if you like, the modern take, saying the astrology treated with tremendous amount of caution. And I've seen this through leadership. I must discuss this.
Mm-hmm.
One young girl came to me, and in a restaurant I was eating, she said, Mr. Lakhani, help me. I liked a young man and I was going to marry that young man, but then the astrologers were asked to kind of interrupt. They said, we are looking at the charts of both the astrologies of the husband, the bride and the groom. They don't match, don't get married. She said, because the astrologers got in the way, I couldn't marry the young man I wanted to marry. My father said, no, astrology said, no, you can't marry, so I can't marry. Then another boy young man I was prepared to get married. He was very keen to marry me. Again, the astrologer stepped in and said, no, you can't marry. So he said, I'm not married. And she came to me and said, I'm really struggling. I'm now in my middle age and I'm not married. I missed two lovely youngsters I could have been married with. Maybe I suffered, so be, but at least I've gone through the process. But because the astrologer said no, I had to kind of get abandoned. See, she was crying. When I see cases like this, then I have to get stirred up and say, no. I have to tell the youngsters Always assert your own dignity as an individual, as a human being who can try and dictate your own future. Your destiny should be in your hands, not in the hands of some astrologer or these planets floating in the sky. Suppose you get it wrong, suppose it is true, so we get beaten up. But stand up against it, saying, this astrology, I'm not going to tolerate you, I'm going to stand up against you. You can imagine that me talking like this means all the astrologers, very popular ones, are going to really get really upset. I'll tell something else. When the astrologer tells you this thing, then it also, of course, gives you a prescription how to avoid disaster in your life. There's, on this particular day, Tuesday, you must wear yellow cloth and take a bath at this time in the morning, and then wear this ring that I'm giving you on this third finger, etc. And then all your problems will be sorted out. Now, if you are a rational person, ask yourself, if I follow this astrologer's advice, getting up on Tuesday at this time and wearing yellow cloth and wearing this ring, etc., how is it going to influence those planets floating in the sky? How are they going to stop influence? Okay, I'll leave you because you're wearing yellow cloth. Okay, you're safe. We will not get in your way. How can it happen? Ask yourself, how can it possibly happen? There is no causal link. This was purely a hypothesis, kind of showing a correlation between the position of planets and some kind of way the lives were unfolding. Recognize it for what it is, then you are fine. You can play with it. But when you get, if you like, under the hypnosis of this astrologers telling you how your life is going to unfold, you might as well not bother to leave them. Sorry, I'm very rough on this, but I get real stick. You can imagine this, but I get real stick from astrologers.
It is not an exact science. That's the bottom line. So we are coming up to the end of the broadcast today. I want to throw you one googly. So we've got a whole range of people around the world, from nihilists to agnostics to atheists to the believers, and all manner of flavorings in between. But the googly is this: does belief itself make God exist?
You see, the starting point, no, the belief cannot create a God. Suppose I believe in the fairies, doesn't mean the fairies will come and be, yoo-hoo, and start dancing in my garden. So belief will not produce the result that you want it. So if you believe in fairies or, hobgoblins or whatever, that will turn up suddenly. But the thing is this, it's a good way to start any journey, including a scientific journey. You got a certain belief system, and the belief system is called hypothesis. You start your journey with some kind of hypothesis, otherwise you can't start your journey. So even Hinduism or even sciences are all hypotheses. You start with a belief system. I believe in Ram Krishna. You start with a belief system, then you progress further. The beautiful thing is this: belief is just the starting point of your spiritual journey, but the destination, if you like, the end product, conclusion is not a belief. You can't just live on belief and die in belief. Some religions just enforce that just die with this belief and you're okay. We say no. Belief is the starting point, not the end of your spiritual journey. The end of your spiritual journey is sakshatkar, first an experience of what you are doing. You see, there is a God, I must come face to face with it. Nothing else will do. That should be the power, the strength with which you should follow your prescription to the destination.
So folks, thank you so much for joining us on today's broadcast. We are coming up to almost 55 minutes into the broadcast today, so I'm going to wrap it up. Jibai, any last words?
No, it is wonderful to explore this. I hope the first thing I said about how you understand why different religions are all genuine, at the same time the way they promote themselves or the prescription they offer are contextual, and this recognition will allow people of the many religions to live with each other, exist with each other with full confidence and love for their own tradition without feeling compromised, and yet be able to kind of evolve and take on this kind of modern vision.
So I always like to close with a quote from Swami Vivekananda, and this comes back to my googly. So Swami Vivekananda says, you cannot believe in God until you believe in yourself first. So with that, I'd like to bring the session for today to a close. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week at the same time, 2 o'clock on Saturday.